Hello and welcome to Quasi's Bell Tower with your host, Quasi, and today we're going to learn how to make LED light torches. So let's get to it. Okay, so in this project to make the LED light torch, you're going to need some tea lights, but the only thing we really need out of the tea light is the battery. Now this is a flickering light, which we are going to use a flickering light, but I have a 5mm flickering light LED. You can use the one in here if you want to. You're just going to be working with less prongs and you would have to cut it out. So it's your call how you want to do it. But the only thing we need in this bad boy here is the battery. So we're going to pop that bad boy out. Next, you're going to need a stir stick. Now I got these from Walmart. They're the Great Value ones. And what I like about these, and I don't know if that's worth all stir sticks because I doubt it, is there's actually, you probably can't see that at all, but there's actually like a piece of plastic that runs all along down the length of it, dividing this into like 2 sections even though it's one piece. And that's going to be perfect when we take our 30 gauge wiring here. You can use any color you want. As I almost dropped the box. I got these, I'll put the link up. These are 30 gauge. I got these, I think $7 or something. I'm not sure how many feet there is per spool. I can't find that out, but like I said, I'll just put the link in there. But I got a whole bunch of them. I'm going to use 2 yellow. It doesn't matter if you use yellow or red or black or whatever else. All you got to know is which end of the LED light is positive and which one is negative. And just remembering that. And of course here, the positive on the LED light, the longer prong here, or the longer rod here, that is, if I can get that so you can see, the longer one is the positive and the smaller one is the negative. You're also going to learn how to, or you're going to have to learn how to solder to do this project. I'm not the greatest at it. I've made a couple of them, as you can see. I don't even know if I'll put that in the video, but we'll see what happens. So you'll need that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our piece of straw, and I think I went with my smallest one here, let's say about 1.5 inches with the straw. So I'm just going to lay this down on my mat and cut out 1.5 inches as straight as I can with these pain in the butt knife or scissors I have, and try not to cut myself. Okay, the trick to this is when we paint this, it's got to hold the paint. The best way to do it is just to take some light sandpaper. This is some 220 grit like I always use in a lot of my projects. And we're just going to sand this up the best we can. So just take it and lay it down if you have to. And just sand it down a bit so the paint will hold. Just make sure it's sanded up pretty good. And then we can move on to the next step, which will be putting these wires, these 30 gauge wires, through the 2 holes for now. I do this ahead of time, it just makes it easier. And I cut a good 4-inch length of wiring because it's better to have more than less. So I'll go ahead and put this other one through. We got our battery, so that's out of the way. We don't need that anymore. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take these wires, and since I don't have a wire gauge stripper that's small enough to do these, to take the plastic or the rubber off it, I am just going to use a lighter, and that's it. You just burn it off. I mean, this is how I used to do it back in the day. So burn it off, pull it off. Yeah, it's a little hot, and there you go. You got your wire exposed. So I'll do the other one. Now children, make sure you get your parents' permission before doing this, because I don't want you burning down their house. Next, we are going to make sure our soldering iron, which it is already plugged in, and it's going to be hard for me to kind of show you guys this. So I'm going to see about changing the view of my camera so I can show this to you. Okay, I'm not going to change the angle. I think I'll just leave it the way it is. We'll just try to work with it. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate these two prongs on the LEDs. I'm just going to spread them apart. And I'm just going to take this wire and twist it up so it's all, because it's a bunch of little wires, so you just want to twist them all up together. And then we'll just take the one that is positive, which is this one, and we're just going to take this wire here. Hopefully you guys can, you probably can barely see me even do this. And we're just going to wire this around. Bring this down closer to the edge. Now, like I said before, I'm not the greatest person at soldering, so I won't be surprised if I make a mistake. So now I got my solder gun, it's on all nice and hot, and we're just going to melt this solder onto this, and I'm going to put the iron right underneath the LED thing, and I just put just enough to hold the wire on, and that's about it, but it can be a little tricky. Especially when you got the shakes right now. Okay, let's get this up there. That didn't work. Ah, you son of a gun. You're gonna do that to me, huh? Yeah. So, like I said, I might have to edit some of this out. Sometimes you can just kind of heat up the wire, since it's so fine, and the bar, and kind of get it on there like that. Kind of a trick to it. Some people are really good at it. On other hand, are not really that great. I got some on there. It's connected to the wire. The wire's not coming off. I'm gonna try to put just a little bit more. You don't want to have a big ball on there because you got to try to pull that through the straw, and that's where it gets a little tricky. So put this back on there, make it all nice and hot. See, now it's all nice and hot again, and there we go. You just got to get that bar heated up just enough, and then everything will flow so nicely. Okay, so I am going to undo that. That is stuck on there, nice. It's not going to come off. That's our positive. I'm going to take our negative and twirl up that wire all nice and nice. Oh yes, and I'm also using my little, if you don't know what this is, it's called a helping hands. This works really nice. It really holds everything in place, so you can have a free hand to do what we need to do. So I'll just put that back on there again and let it heat that bar up. And just wait for it to melt and get hot enough to melt it. Hopefully that will work. There we go. Got it. Perfect. Basically, you put it on the iron a little bit until it starts melting, and then just kind of slide it over the metal, and then just kind of move it back and forth so it gets all the wiring. Okay, so that is done. We are done with that. Next, we're going to pull this through, and then we will cut the wires on, or melt the wires on the other side, and test the wiring and make sure that there's a good connection and everything, and everything's working out just perfect. So let me get this guy out of the way. So I'm just going to gently slide those through. Fix this light just a little bit. So there we go. I got all this extra lighting here, okay? So we'll go ahead and melt it, which I'll probably end up cutting a lot of this off, but I want to test it first. And of course, my cat's at the door wanting in and wanting my attention. So we got to remember which one was the positive and which one was the negative. Well, if you're not sure, just test it out. Hey, look at that. It works. It works. It works. And it is my flickering LED, so that will look really badass after when we finish this. You can get the flickering LED lights, I think, in different colors. You should be able to. I went with the orange because I thought it would be the best bet. So we know that works. So we can move on to the next step. Okay, guys. So next, after I've tested it and made sure it works, I put a piece of tape on the end of mine, so I know this is the negative. And you can put whatever you want on it to remember it's a negative, but I'm just doing it this way, so I gotta cut the positive shorter than the negative, and the positive is gonna be pretty short. And basically I'm gonna just set it on my battery like this and kind of get a feel for it, where I want to put it, even though it's not really that important. Sorry, I know I got my hands in the way, right guys? But that's it. And it's gonna basically get glued onto the battery just like that. It ain't gonna hurt the battery and it won't hurt anything, so don't worry about it. And your hot glue is not gonna be hot enough to explode the battery, so don't even worry about that either. So we are going to cut this, let's say, yay, that short. It's about 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4. And we're just gonna take our lighter here and melt down the wire again. And then just pull it off. And there you go. The wire is now exposed. Go ahead and twist that bad boy up. Okay, so I'm gonna go get my hot glue gun turned on and make sure that you've turned off your soldering iron or you've unplugged it. I don't have an on-off switch on mine, so I have to unplug it. Please make sure you do that. You don't want to have an accident and burn the house down. Or burn yourself. I've done that before too. So once again, make sure that wire is all nice and tight and twisted up. And we're basically going to center this, and we're going to take this little bit of wire and we're just going to bend it into the battery. Hopefully you guys can see that, like that. Okay, I want it so it's right there. And if you want, which usually what I do is I take a piece of tape. I try to get a really, really tiny piece of tape if I can. I'm sure you don't really even need to do this, but I'm going to do it just to be on the safe side. And that's just to make sure that there is a connection on the with the battery on the positive side. And I just kind of push it down, try to make sure that wire is just staying down and that the glue doesn't get underneath it. Hopefully by now my glue gun is heated up enough so I can just glue around it. Yeah. You're not heated up yet, you little son of a gun. So we'll wait here a few more minutes. Hopefully it is ready now. Yeah, there we go. So we just put some down and put it all the way around the stir stick. Okay, you can smooth it out if you want with the needle of the, or the nose of the hot wire gun. I just want to get it so it will hold this in place and keep it still and pretty straight. And then we'll fill in the rest once that dries. Okay guys, so now I'm just going to take the rest of the glue gun. I actually cut the rest of that glue, or the rest of that tape off. And I use an X-Acto knife, and if you just scrape it against the battery a bit where the tape is on there, and don't do it too hard, but enough to cut the tape, you won't blow up the battery and you won't hurt anything, so don't worry about it. So now I'm just going to take some more of this glue and dab it up along the top and give it some more texture. Kind of hide the wire. And then we are going to take this wire here and we can cut this, and I'm going to cut it like probably right about there. So you got a good, I'm going to do a good inch of wire still left. Okay. And then I'm just going to take my lighter and I'm going to melt about a 1/2 inch of it. And then you've got some wire exposed. Okay, you go ahead and twist that up again. Okay, and you're just going to go just like that around the side of the battery, okay? And if you want to, you can test this and make sure it works, which it still does. I'm hoping my battery on my phone or my camera doesn't die before I show you this next step. Okay, so you just take your glue and you just run it along the wire here, and the glue will, when you paint it and everything else, it will hide that wire. You won't even know it's there. You're just putting some texture on there, and that's it. Try not to get your wire in the glue. Keep it out if possible. Well, actually it has to be out, so you better make it possible. Then kind of let that glue dry off, and I'm using a low temp gun, by the way, guys, just to let you know. I think a hot temp gun for this would be too much. See, and there you go. And then that's done, and I should still be able to tuck the wire underneath here and have that turn on. Yeah, it'll come off, but that's perfect because you don't want your battery to die. And we're not using an on-off switch because the less material, the better for this. It'll make it look more, I guess, realistic without it being so bulky. And if you really need it to, you could set like a penny or something on top of this. You could build the wall up some more if you really need it to. You know, it almost holds on its own. See, pretty good, just like that. So once that's all covered up and you got a liking to what you got, which I'm going to add a little more glue there and there and a little bit more there. That should be done. And maybe just a little bit more here to thicken up this. And then I'm just going to let it dry. So the next step after we've got the whole base complete and you got your wire set and you know it's working still, which you can easily see by me just testing it like that, is we are going to add some glue to the light now. And hopefully my, yep, it's ready. So we just add some glue to the LED light. Just give it some texture. Just go up and down on it. Don't put too much glue. The fun part is going to be trying to add the glue kind of to the top, to the side, and drag it out, and then kind of let it cool off. I've learned just bring it down to the table and kind of break it off. Let that cool off. You'll probably have to cut some of these a little shorter because they'll probably end up being too long. But see, like that one might be too long. But after you do a couple of these, let me show you. But after you do a couple of these, you can probably just cut them a little shorter if you need to with a pair of scissors. And you just pull off some of those wisps. Like I said, some of these are really long, and what I'll do is I'll just cut them down. And after that, guys, I'm going to bring it back all painted up and show you what it looks like, and then we'll be done with this video. So there it is, the finished LED light torch. That's without the light, and that's with the light on. Well, that's it, guys. That's the finished LED light torch. If you guys have any comments or questions for me, go ahead. I'll try to reply to them as soon as I can. But like always, please subscribe and ring that like button like a hunchback. Until next time.